The moment you wake up spiritually, the world begins to turn on you. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your light exposes everything false in others. You'll notice it. People who once smiled at you start to shift. Their words grow sharp, their energy feels heavy, and you'll wonder why your peace seems to make them uneasy. But here's the truth. Your awakening threatens their illusion. Your calm dismantles their chaos. Your awareness makes them confront their own blindness, and that's something the ego cannot stand. Most people aren't afraid of darkness. They're afraid of seeing the light that proves they've been living in it. And when you walk in truth, you become a mirror, reflecting everything they've spent their entire lives trying to hide. This is why spiritually awake people trigger others. Not because they preach, not because they judge, but because their very existence reveals who's still asleep. The more conscious you become, the lonelier it feels, because consciousness itself is rebellion. It's a quiet revolution against every lie society built to keep you asleep. But don't dim your light to make others comfortable. Keep evolving, keep shining, because eventually the same light that triggers them will awaken them too. If this message resonates, subscribe and join the movement of awakened warriors who refuse to sleep through their purpose. You're not crazy. You're conscious. Welcome to the next level. 1. Truth feels like an attack to those living in lies. When you start waking up, not just spiritually, but mentally and emotionally, you'll begin to notice something strange. Your truth starts to offend people who once applauded your silence. You'll speak from awareness, and they'll hear arrogance. You'll set a boundary, and they'll call you selfish. You'll choose peace, and they'll label you distant. But it's not because you've changed for the worse. It's because they're finally seeing you without their illusions, and that feels like betrayal. See, most people don't actually want the truth. They want validation. They want a soft lie that keeps their comfort alive. They want the illusion that everyone around them agrees, supports, and understands, even when it's all a facade. So when you stop feeding that facade, when you start speaking truth, standing tall and moving differently, you don't just challenge their beliefs, you destroy the fragile world they built around those beliefs. That's why your growth feels like an attack to them. It's not your words that cut, it's their reflection in you. Because truth doesn't ask permission. It doesn't comfort the ego. It confronts it. And the ego's first defense against exposure is offense. That's why awakening feels like warfare. Not because you're fighting others, but because others are fighting to protect the illusion your presence threatens to dissolve. Your peace is dangerous to people who live in noise. Your detachment is offensive to those who manipulate through emotion. Your self-awareness is insulting to those who built their identity on blame. They'll twist your words, distort your intent, and project their fears onto you, all to keep their illusion intact. Because once one person wakes up, it challenges the entire group's denial. You've probably seen it. You start setting boundaries, and suddenly you're acting different. You stop over-explaining, and suddenly you're cold. You start choosing solitude, and now they call you arrogant. But none of that is truth. It's their ego screaming for survival. The awakened man doesn't argue back. He doesn't defend his evolution. He understands that every reaction from them is just proof of his transformation. Remember this. When truth enters the room, lies tremble. not because they're weak, but because they know they can't survive the light. So stop apologizing for the clarity that makes others uncomfortable. Stop dimming your awareness to protect fragile egos. Stop softening your edges to fit back into rooms you've already outgrown. The ones who can't handle your truth were never meant to stand beside you at your higher vibration. They needed the version of you who didn't know better, and that version is gone. You're not attacking them by evolving. You're just no longer agreeing to live in their illusion. And if that truth offends them, let it. Because awakening isn't about being liked. It's about being liberated. 2. Your light threatens their shadows. Awakening isn't some peaceful walk through flowers. It's confrontation first with yourself, then with everyone who preferred you blind. Because when your awareness expands, it doesn't just elevate you, it illuminates everything around you. And not everyone wants to be seen in the light. Your presence begins to do something subtle but powerful. It pulls the mask off others. The energy in the room shifts. Suddenly, the people who used to be comfortable around you start fidgeting. They avoid eye contact. They crack jokes to deflect. Why? Because your light threatens their shadows. You don't even have to speak. Just by existing in truth, you make others face the lies they live in. Your calm exposes their chaos. Your clarity magnifies their confusion. Your self-respect highlights their lack of it. That's the paradox of awakening. You stop judging others, yet they start feeling judged in your presence. They sense it. The human spirit can feel authenticity, and when someone carries it, it pierces through every performance. It's not that they hate you. It's that they can't hide from themselves when they're near you. People spend years building identities that protect them from truth. False confidence, fake kindness, performative spirituality. But your authenticity destroys those layers like fire through paper. You become the living proof that another way of being exists, one without pretending, pleasing, or performing. And for someone still asleep, that realization is unbearable. They'll start distancing themselves. They'll misread your peace as pride. They'll say you've changed. They'll gossip, criticize, or compete. But what they're really saying is, you remind me of everything I'm afraid to face, because your light doesn't just illuminate, it exposes. And exposure feels like pain to someone who spent years hiding. The truth is, your growth holds up a mirror, and when you hold that mirror long enough, people either evolve with you or disappear from you. This is why isolation often follows awakening. It's not punishment, it's purification. The light begins to separate what's real from what's pretending. You'll notice it in conversations too. The superficial becomes unbearable. The gossip feels empty. You stop vibing with low-frequency drama, not because you're better, but because your soul's appetite has changed. You crave honesty, depth, silence, purpose. You start speaking less and observing more. You begin to recognize that not everyone can walk beside you when you walk in truth. And that's okay, because your role isn't to drag people out of their shadows. It's to remain the light that shows them the exit, whether they take it or not. Some will, some won't, but that's none of your concern. The awakened man doesn't dim himself to make the blind comfortable. He stands in the brightness of his awareness, even if it blinds others. Your energy will always disturb unhealed energy. Your peace will always feel threatening to those addicted to chaos. and your stillness will always confuse those who only understand noise. It's not your job to explain the light to those who fear it. It's your job to keep burning anyway, because light doesn't negotiate with darkness. It replaces it. And the ones who are meant to rise with you, they'll find you by that same light you refuse to hide. 3. The ego hates what it can't control. The moment you awaken spiritually, something inside you shifts permanently. You stop reacting the way they expect you to. You stop chasing validation. You stop getting emotionally hooked by manipulation. And that's when they begin to lose power over you. To an unconscious mind, that loss of control feels like death, because control is the ego's oxygen. It survives by keeping others reactive, predictable, and emotionally entangled. But the spiritually awake man, he doesn't take the bait. When you reach a higher level of awareness, manipulation stops working, not because people stop trying, but because you stop needing. You stop needing approval, attention, or agreement. You see through the tactics, the guilt trips, the gaslighting, the emotional traps. You watch it all play out like a movie, detached, centered, aware. And that awareness drives the ego insane, because the ego feeds on reactions. When you refuse to react, you starve it. When you stay calm, you disarm it. When you walk away without explaining, you destroy its illusion of power. That's what people can't handle about awakened energy. They can't move you anymore. See, the average person doesn't want connection. They want control disguised as connection. They want to feel significant by making you bend to their expectations. When you stop bending, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability terrifies the ego. You'll see this in relationships, friendships, even family dynamics. When you stop feeding the cycle, when you stop over-explaining, over-giving, or over-apologizing, you'll trigger their deepest insecurity, irrelevance. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of being cold, selfish, or heartless. But what they really mean is, I can't control you anymore. And to the ego, that's unbearable. The truth is, spiritual awakening rewires your power dynamic with the world. You stop being emotionally available to manipulation. You stop trying to prove your worth to unworthy situations. You stop mistaking guilt for love and chaos for passion. You begin to understand that peace is your power, and whoever can disturb your peace controls your power. So you guard it, you protect it, you master it. That's why awakened people often get labeled as detached or intimidating. It's not that they don't care, it's that they no longer cling. Their compassion isn't emotional chaos anymore. It's controlled clarity. They love, but without attachment. They forgive, but without access. They listen, but without absorbing. They live from consciousness, not compulsion. And when the ego encounters that level of calm, it panics, because calmness can't be argued with. Calmness doesn't fight, it reveals. Think about it. When you stop reacting, people expose themselves faster. Their manipulation becomes obvious. Their words lose impact. Their emotional hooks dangle in the air, unanswered. You become a mirror they can't handle, reflecting their desperation for control. The more you grow, the more you'll see it. People aren't addicted to love or validation. They're addicted to control disguised as connection. And your awareness threatens that addiction. So they'll try to guilt you, shame you, provoke you. anything to make you react. Because the moment you react, they regain leverage. But when you remain calm, when you respond with silence, presence, and truth, they can't touch you. That's what it means to be awake in a sleeping world. You become unavailable to manipulation. You walk through the same chaos as everyone else, but you're no longer moved by it. You stop being a puppet and become the observer. And once the ego realizes it can't control you, it fears you, not because you're dangerous, but because you're free. 4. Authenticity makes the inauthentic uncomfortable. The truth is, authenticity terrifies people. Because when you start living honestly, you expose the performance everyone else is still trapped in. The modern world runs on masks, fake confidence, filtered emotions, scripted personalities designed to impress, not express. So when you show up raw, unfiltered, direct, real, you become a threat to that illusion. Your honesty shines a light they can't hide from. Every word you speak, every boundary you set, every ounce of peace you carry, it reminds people of everything they're pretending to be. And that makes them uncomfortable. They'll say you're too much, too honest, too blunt, too real. But what they really mean is, you make me see the parts of myself I've been lying about. Authenticity isn't loud. It's pure. It doesn't perform. It just is. And because most people are addicted to validation, they've forgotten how to exist without pretending. They post curated lives, chase surface-level approval, and call it self-expression, but it's performance. And performance dies in the presence of the authentic. That's why you'll feel the tension when you walk into a room centered, calm, and real. Your energy silently says, I don't need to prove anything. And that, more than words, triggers insecurity in those still performing for the crowd. Authenticity has a frequency. It vibrates differently, deeper, slower, sharper. You can't fake it. You can't copy it. You can't rehearse it. You either are or you're not. And the moment you become that unapologetically, people start to reveal their true nature. The fake become distant. The jealous become vocal. The insecure become critical. And the real, they come closer. Because authenticity acts like a sorting mechanism. It doesn't chase. It attracts and it filters. The people meant for you will resonate with your truth. The ones built on pretense will run from it. And that's not loss, that's alignment. But here's the catch. Being authentic costs you comfort. It'll isolate you, because the world worships image, not integrity. You'll be too deep for the shallow, too calm for the chaotic, too honest for the insecure. But that's the price of being real. The Stoics called it ataraxia, a calm that comes from inner integrity. When what you say, think, and do are aligned, you move through life uncheckable. You stop performing for applause and start living for truth. And that unnerves people who've spent years curating an identity. They don't understand peace that doesn't depend on validation. They don't recognize power that doesn't need an audience. Your authenticity forces them to confront a painful question: who am I when I'm not pretending? And most people aren't ready to face that answer. So they'll project. They'll mock. They'll twist your calm into arrogance and your boundaries into attitude. But stay silent. Stay grounded. Because real power doesn't explain, it radiates. You're not here to fit their performance. You're here to expose it by existing in truth. And over time, you'll notice something else. Your presence starts to inspire those who are secretly tired of pretending. Your rawness gives others permission to drop their own mask. That's how you change the world, not through noise, but through embodied truth. Because when you live authentically, you become a living mirror. You don't have to say much. Your existence does the talking. And while some will resent you for it, the ones who are ready to wake up will thank you silently, because your truth helped them remember theirs. 5. Energy doesn't lie, and they feel yours before you speak. You don't have to say a word. Your energy speaks first, and it never lies. The moment you walk into a room, your frequency is already doing the talking. It tells the truth long before your mouth does. That's why spiritually awake people unsettle others, not because of what they say, but because of what they radiate. Your energy carries your awareness. It carries your boundaries. It carries your peace, your self-respect, your clarity. And when that energy meets someone who's built on insecurity or pretense, it creates friction. They don't know why they feel uncomfortable around you. They just do. Your stillness feels like confrontation. Your calm feels like judgment. Your presence feels like exposure. Because your frequency doesn't mirror theirs, it reveals theirs. See, energy recognizes energy. An authentic frequency exposes a fake one instantly. It's spiritual X-ray vision, and the deeper you grow in consciousness, the less people can hide from you. You start feeling dishonesty before you hear it. You sense manipulation before it unfolds. You detect insecurity masked as confidence before it even speaks. This is why awareness feels heavy. Because the higher your vibration, the more you feel what's real and what's rotten. And most people are carrying energy they've never dealt with. Unhealed wounds, hidden envy, suppressed rage. They live in frequencies of fear and call it normalcy. But when your aura walks in, grounded, clear, silent, it shakes that illusion. You don't even mean to expose them. You just exist in truth, and truth makes lies crumble. That's why they react defensively. They'll talk louder around you. They'll try to dominate conversations, crack jokes, or bring up your past. They're not attacking you, they're protecting themselves from what your energy reveals. You're not intimidating, you're transparent. And transparency threatens those who survive by distortion. It's the same reason prophets were exiled, monks were mocked, and visionaries were misunderstood. The world doesn't know how to handle purity in a culture built on pretense. Your frequency doesn't need validation. It simply is. It doesn't seek approval. It demands resonance. And anything that doesn't match it will either rise or retreat. So when people ghost you, gossip about you, or grow distant, understand this. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the reflection your energy forces them to see. Because energy doesn't lie. Words can be crafted. Smiles can be rehearsed. But vibration? It tells the truth every time. And that truth says everything about a person long before conversation ever begins. That's why you must protect your frequency like it's sacred ground, because it is. Don't let environments soaked in gossip, negativity, or insecurity infect your aura. Energy exchange is real. Every room, every conversation, every touch is a transaction. When your energy rises, it's your responsibility to keep it clean. Withdraw when you feel drained. Stay silent when you feel tension. Observe when you sense dishonesty, because your intuition is your greatest shield, and your frequency is its voice. You'll know who's genuine not by their words, but by how you feel after they leave. The real will recharge you, the fake will deplete you, and the wise, they'll match your stillness effortlessly. So stop explaining your energy to people who can't feel it. Stop forcing your presence where your peace is disturbed. Stop lowering your frequency just to fit in with those vibrating on survival. You are not here to blend. You're here to awaken. And awakening begins when you start trusting what your energy already knows. Because long before your mind analyzes or your mouth speaks, your aura already spoke the truth. And the ones meant for you will feel it instantly, not as intimidation, but as recognition. 6. The awake don't seek validation, and that shatters the game. Everything around you is engineered to make you seek approval. Social media, religion, education, even love, it's been twisted into performance. From childhood, you were conditioned to chase gold stars to earn worth through obedience. But the spiritually awake person breaks that system in one brutal moment, when they realize validation is the leash. The entire world runs on it. Every trend, every argument, every marketing campaign, all of it feeds on one primal insecurity, the need to be accepted. People don't buy products. They buy belonging. They don't post for fun. They post for proof. Every like, every compliment, every clap is in foredrip for the starving ego. And the moment you stop needing it, you shatter the illusion, because they can't control what doesn't crave approval. That's why the awakened man or woman is feared, not celebrated. They walk through life immune to manipulation. They don't bend for applause or shrink for acceptance. They act from conviction, not consensus. Their worth is internal, and that's what terrifies the system built on external validation. Because validation is the world's currency. It's how they buy your time, your focus, your spirit. They make you crave attention so deeply that you mistake it for love. They sell you status symbols so you can feel seen. They teach you to compete for recognition, not creation. And as long as you need the crowd to clap, you'll dance for them forever. But once you awaken, once you see the machinery, the game collapses. You realize that the opinions of others have zero bearing on truth. That fame is emptiness disguised as fulfillment. That peace doesn't come from applause, it comes from silence. You stop seeking permission to exist. You stop asking to be understood. You stop explaining your path to those who haven't walked their own. The need for validation is the root of mediocrity. It makes you edit your truth so it's digestible for the masses. It makes you trade authenticity for acceptance. It makes you small when you were meant to terrify the world with your magnitude. The spiritually awake don't play that game anymore. They build quietly. They move in integrity. They measure success by alignment, not attention. And ironically, that's when they become magnetic. Because energy rooted in self-approval can't be ignored. You've felt it before. When someone walks into a room fully embodied, calm, unbothered, they don't need you to like them, and that's why you do. People sense sovereignty. They crave it, but few have the courage to live it. Because validation feels good. It's a drug, and like any drug, withdrawal hurts. You'll feel misunderstood, isolated, invisible. But that pain is freedom in disguise. It's your ego detoxing from dependency. And when the detox ends, you'll realize something powerful. You never needed the crowd. You never needed the praise. You just needed to see yourself clearly. The awakened don't seek validation because they've already validated their soul. Their mission doesn't need to be liked, it needs to be fulfilled. And that terrifies those who still live for the scoreboard. They'll mock your calm. They'll label your independence as arrogance. They'll call you selfish for doing what's sacred. But remember, what the unawakened call rebellion, the enlightened call freedom. Once you stop playing for approval, you start playing for impact. And that shift changes everything. Your relationships, your work, your energy. Because when validation dies, vision awakens. And you start living not for attention, but for truth. You stop performing. You start embodying. You stop chasing. You start creating. You stop fearing rejection because you realize rejection only exists when you're still seeking acceptance. This is how you break the code. You stop needing to be seen. You start seeing. The moment you stop living to impress others is the moment you become untouchable. Not because you're superior, but because you're sovereign. That's the energy the world can't replicate. That's what makes the spiritually awake so dangerous. They no longer belong to the system. They belong to themselves. 7. Detachment destroys control. The moment you stop reacting, you break their control. Because manipulation feeds on emotion, not logic. And when you detach, you starve the entire system. Every force that tries to rule you, from people to politics to relationships, relies on your reaction. They need your outrage. They need your fear. They need your validation, your guilt, your hunger for approval. Once you stop giving that, you become a mirror they can't move. And that's when the attacks begin, because detachment terrifies the controllers. You can't shame a man who feels no guilt. You can't tempt a woman who's already whole. You can't manipulate someone who no longer needs to be liked. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It means awareness. It's the mastery of staying centered while the world around you spins in chaos. You observe without absorbing. You listen without being led. You respond without reacting. That's spiritual dominance. People who crave control will always test your composure. They'll poke, provoke, and perform, waiting for you to slip into emotional chaos. Because once you react, you hand them the frame. You become predictable again. But when your silence stays unshaken, when your energy remains still, something inside them breaks. Because power built on reaction collapses when met with calm. Detachment isn't weakness. It's warfare. It's how Stoics stayed unbroken while empires fell. It's how Machiavelli taught rulers to rule, not through noise, but neutrality. The truly powerful don't flinch. They calculate. They let storms exhaust themselves. Your detachment confuses emotional manipulators because it deprives them of their favorite weapon, your attention. They'll accuse you of being cold, heartless, disconnected. But what they really mean is, I can't control you anymore. See, most people aren't in relationships. They're in energy exchanges disguised as love. They feed off reaction, anger, validation, insecurity. It's all control through emotional chaos. But when you no longer react, you shift from pawn to player. You start seeing every interaction as data, not drama. You stop trying to win arguments and start observing motives. Detachment makes you surgical. You stop bleeding over everything. You start discerning where to invest your time, words, and emotions. And this is where real freedom begins, when you realize you can choose your emotional temperature in any situation. The manipulator raises their voice. You lower yours. They insult. You observe. They expect you to crumble. You smile. That serenity makes them unravel, because your stillness exposes their storm. Understand this. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You can still love, but you love without losing yourself. You can still fight, but you fight without fury. You can still feel, but your feelings no longer drown your decisions. You start moving like water, adaptable, but never graspable. And that's the secret all awakened souls learn. You cannot control the world, but you can control your vibration. And when your energy stays unbothered, the world loses its grip. That's why detachment is the ultimate rebellion. Because a calm, aware human is the one thing power structures can't manipulate. They can't sell you fear when you don't react to it. They can't market insecurity when you no longer need approval. They can't govern your thoughts when you know how to silence them. That's enlightenment in motion, stillness that commands. So yes, when you stop reacting, expect attacks. Expect confusion. Expect people to project their chaos onto you. But smile, because it means they've lost control. You've become untouchable, not because you've escaped life, but because you've mastered how to stay centered within it. Detachment isn't running away. It's standing still while everything that's not real falls away. And in that silence and that unbothered energy, that's where power lives. The kind that doesn't need to prove, persuade, or perform. Because once you master detachment, you stop playing the game and start controlling it. 8. You don't trigger them, their ego does. You are not their problem. You are their mirror. And mirrors make people uncomfortable, especially when they've spent years avoiding their own reflection. When someone says you trigger them, what they really mean is this: you make them see themselves too clearly. Your peace exposes their chaos. Your confidence highlights their insecurity. Your authenticity makes their facade unbearable. They're not reacting to you. They're reacting to what your presence reflects back to them. That's the truth most can't handle. See, the ego is a fragile architect. It builds illusions to protect itself, masks of superiority, victimhood, validation. And as long as no one challenges those illusions, it survives. But the moment someone truly awake walks in, that entire house of cards starts to shake. Your calmness dismantles their need for control. Your emotional restraint highlights their impulsiveness. Your self-assured energy reveals how deeply they depend on others for identity. And because they can't face that truth, they project. They label you cold, arrogant, intimidating, or too much. They make you the villain because the alternative, confronting their own weakness, is too painful. But that's not your responsibility. You didn't cause their discomfort. You simply revealed it. The spiritually awake don't trigger anyone intentionally. They simply vibrate on a frequency where lies can't survive. And when an unhealed ego encounters that frequency, it panics. It feels exposed. It feels small. It feels powerless. Because for the first time, it's looking at something that doesn't play by its rules. The ego thrives on reaction. It needs drama to feel alive. It feeds on control, validation, and emotional chaos. But when your energy stays neutral, when you don't play its game, it begins to self-destruct. That's why they pick fights. That's why they twist your words. That's why they turn others against you. It's not about you. It's about them fighting to protect their illusion from the mirror you represent. You've become the reflection they can't escape. And the more you rise in awareness, the more your mere presence starts to polarize people. The healed will be drawn to you. The unhealed will be repelled by you. It's automatic energy sorting itself out. You can't fake alignment. You can't fake truth. And you can't stand in front of a mirror and not see what's there. So when they lash out, gossip, or distance themselves, don't take it personally. You didn't fail them. You simply became too honest for their comfort. This is why enlightenment is often lonely. Because when you stop lying to yourself, you stop fitting in with those who still do. But solitude doesn't mean isolation. It means purification. The air gets thinner as you ascend, but it also gets clearer. Eventually you start to see that every trigger you ever had was your own ego doing the same thing. You once blamed others for the reflections they showed you too, until one day you faced the mirror instead of fighting it. That's how growth happens, not through comfort, but confrontation. Not through escaping truth, but embodying it. So now when others react to you, see it for what it is, a spiritual reflex. They're not angry at you, they're angry through you. Because your existence demands they evolve. The only reason your peace feels offensive is because it reminds them of their chaos. The only reason your confidence feels threatening is because it exposes their self-doubt. The only reason your authenticity feels arrogant is because they've been living as a character for too long. You're not responsible for their evolution. You're just a catalyst that reminds them it's overdue. That's the power of being awake. You don't preach change. You embody it. You don't argue truth. You radiate it. And that radiation burns through illusion like sunlight through fog. So when they recoil, let them. When they project, let them. When they misunderstand you, smile quietly. Because one day they'll realize the person they resented was the same mirror that could have freed them. You didn't trigger them. Their ego did. You were just the reflection that revealed it. And that reflection, uncomfortable as it may be, is the first light of awakening. Being spiritually awake isn't about pleasing others or avoiding conflict. It's about standing firmly in your truth, regardless of how it's received. The people who feel threatened by you are simply meeting a reflection of themselves they've avoided for too long. And that's not your problem, it's theirs. Your energy is a magnet. The aligned will be drawn to your light. The unaligned will be repelled by it. This is the natural law of vibration. Your peace, your authenticity, and your clarity cannot coexist with deception and unconsciousness. And that's exactly why you trigger others. Embrace it. Own it. Let it sort your world. The spiritually awake don't chase approval. They radiate truth. They attract what resonates and repel what doesn't. So remember, you are not responsible for their evolution. You are responsible for your alignment. When others lash out, step back, observe, and let their reactions be the mirror they need. If this resonates, comment below with "I see the truth" and subscribe for more insights on mastery, awareness, and awakening.